In the Maharashtra Mahabharata, Uddhav Thackeray has had to surrender. Any moment now, there is an expectation that he could, in fact, dump both the Congress and Sharad Pawar's NCP. This is his offer to the rebel MLAs of his party. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Let's take you through the key developments of this unfolding political drama, more nail-biting than any series that you could imagine on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Uddhav Thackeray beleaguered down to the spot of just 13 MLAs of his own party, with the bulk of his party shifting allegiance to Eknath Shinde, his formerly close aide and number two in the party, has had no option but to give in to what the MLAs have asked for. The MLAs who accused him of an ideological compromise have now had his back against the wall. Shiv Sena Sanjay Raut has announced that the Shiv Sena is ready to dump Pawar as well as the Congress if the MLAs are to return. Amid talks of Devendra Fadnavis as the front runner for the next chief minister and Eknath Shinde as his deputy, could the game turn if Uddhav Thackeray actually dumps the coalition, in other words, abandons the Congress and the NCP? To discuss this nail-biting last mile of this political drama, let's introduce our panelists today. We're joined by Sundar Balakrishnan, who's a political analyst. Namaskar, sir. Welcome to the program. Arati, Jerath, veteran journalist and columnist, is with us. Also joining us is a journalist, senior journalist from Maharashtra, Varun Singh. I must call out Varun for calling this story correctly first at a time when we all thought that Eknath Shinde had only 14 or 15 MLAs with him. Varun on this platform said Mr. Shinde had 35. Today, that number has officially gone up to 38. So, Varun, congratulations on that scoop. Rahul Verma, who's a political analyst with the Center for Policy Research, is with us. And Tehseen, Poonawalla, the ever optimist for the party he supports. No one knows why he remains optimistic and ever smiling about the Congress party. Still smiling, is also with us. Tehseen, welcome to the program. All right, Varun, I think banta hai that we start with you. But before we start with you, the twist in the tail, as you know, is the announcement from Sanjay Raut saying that the party is ready to dump the coalition, dump the Congress, dump Sharad Pawar if the MLAs return in the next 24 hours. So before I get your first comments, let's listen to what Sanjay Raut had to say.
या सर्व आमदारांची इच्छा जर असेल, हे मी जबाबदारीने बोलतो, या सगळ्या आमदारांची इच्छा आणि भूमिका असेल की महाविकास आघाडीतून शिवसेनेनं बाहेर पडलं पाहिजे आणि एक वेगळा विचार केला पाहिजे. त्यांनी आधी महाराष्ट्रात यावं, मुंबईत यावं आणि त्यांची जी मागणी आहे ती मागणी अधिकृतपणे शिवसेना पक्षप्रमुखांसमोर त्यांनी मांडावी. त्यांच्या मागणीचा नक्की विचार होईल, पण आधी मुंबईत यायची हिंमत दाखवा. तिथे बसून तुम्ही पत्रव्यवहार करू नका. तिथे बसून पत्रव्यवहार करू नका. इथे मोबाईलवर, व्हॉट्सअपवर किंवा अन्य ट्विटरवर आपण पक्के शिवसैनिक आहात, आपण शिवसैनिक असल्याचं सांगताय, आम्ही शिवसेना सोडणार नाही असं सांगताय, पण आमची भूमिका फक्त सध्याच्या सरकारविषयी आहे. त्या सरकारमधून महाविकास आघाडीतून शिवसेना बाहेर पडायला तयार आहे. तुम्ही ते येण्याची हिंमत दाखवा, समोर उद्धव साहेबांसमोर या आणि भूमिका मांडा. नक्की तुमच्या भूमिकेचा विचार होईल. 24 तासात परत या. हे मी परत सांगतोय, मी जबाबदारीनं आणि हवेतले हे मी भूमिका मांडत नाहीये. 24 तासात तुम्ही मुंबईत परत या. उद्धव साहेबांसमोर आपण बसू आणि तुमची जी भूमिका आहे ती स्वीकारण्यासंदर्भात नक्की विचार केला जाईल.
Okay, I'll quickly translate that. So the captions were there. Come to Mumbai in 24 hours. Stop fighting from Guwahati. Stop fighting on Twitter and through WhatsApp forwards. Come and talk to Uddhav Thackeray. We are the true Shiv Senics and we are ready to look at your demand to walk out of this coalition. But you have to first come back to Mumbai in 24 hours. Varun, this is a very, very important development and this could change the game. Do you expect the Shiv Sena to now formally dump the coalition, or will they wait to see whether the MLAs return? Varun.
The entire plan, to be honest, was the same, that Shiv Sena wanted an exit route and they have found it. Via Eknath Shinde, they have got what they wanted. I have this strong feeling by my sources too that this was all planned, all scripted, and the BJP just played a supporting role in helping them with statistics and logistics over here. He wanted out. He wanted to have, because almost all the MLAs over here in Shiv have this feeling that they will lose their winnability, will go down if they continue with Shiv. And as I have said earlier, if Shiv continues with MVA, and as I had said earlier, and I repeat it, that Shiv in today's scene, it is very difficult that because the way they have abandoned Hindutva, their core ideology, the people, for people like Eknath Shinde, for other MLAs to go and ask for votes from their constituents who would always stand with them for these particular ideology, it was, it was a better way that they have found an exit route. And the same thing, I somehow can't trust Sanjay Raut, not me. Many people over here cannot, because he says something and that doesn't happen. Even yesterday, my sources clearly told me by 4:30 it was clear the resignation was ready, the bags were packed. The 5 o'clock press conference, if you see, it went down to 5:30, only because in between Mr. Raut and Mr. Pawar, they both got into the picture and made Uddhav, convinced Uddhav not to resign and stick to power till the last moment, which Uddhav is not very keen of, and that is one reason he sent out a signal. Probably they say he sent out a signal to others, but I think he sent out a signal to his alliance. Ki boss, I am leaving the official bungalow. I am leaving the CM office. Don't force me to continue over here.
Okay, hang on, Varun. Basically, what you're saying is that an exit route for a possible reconciliation within the Sena has been found. The government will fall because, of course, the coalition no longer holds unless the BJP steps in to plug the gap and Uddhav Thackeray remains chief minister. How likely is that?
BJP is not in a hurry. I spoke to, just see the stoic silence that from the BJP over here in Maharashtra or Delhi. None of their leaders are speaking, except for the Ranis. You won't find any BJP leader speaking anywhere. I spoke to at least half a dozen BJP MLAs yesterday, and they are like, "Bhai, hum enjoy kar rahe hain, hotel mein chai pee rahe hain. We are going around. We are enjoying this entire show by Shiv Sena, NCP, and Congress." And they also say that BJP is not in a hurry. Right now, they are not in a hurry. They do not want to take any risk. They have embarrassed themselves once with Ajit Pawar. They are not in a mood to embarrass themselves again, and they don't want to take any risk before the big BMC election, big Thane Municipal Corporation election, or KDMC elections. So they are not at all in a hurry. They will wait and watch, and they are not even in a hurry to form a government. So if anyone says that Devendra Fadnavis kal subah jaake chief minister ban jayenge, to I'm telling you, my sources are saying that that is not the case and that is not going to happen. Probably you may see some people from NCP, not NCP, then Congress abandoning the ship and leaving.
Okay, so Varun, who first scooped this story, is now telling us that he believes the Shiv Sena will withdraw from this coalition, officially dumping the Congress and Sharad Pawar, and that will create the way for a reconciliation to take place within the Shiv Sena. Either way, the government falls. He believes Fadnavis will not be stepping up to claim his pound of flesh right now. Tehseen Poonawalla, let's bring you in. Tehseen, the fact is that, this was an experiment. It was clearly not a coalition based on ideology. It was a coalition based on political survival. And it seems again that it is Sharad Pawar and the party you support that has been left in the lurch.
Not Sharad Pawar. And Varun is sitting here, so let me begin by congratulating Varun. He's a fantastic journalist and he's done a fabulous job. I've been reading his tweets, so congratulations, Varun. And Barkha, let me be brutally honest with you. I've always come on your show and I've always said that the Congress should consider what it should do, and this is what my feelings is about this alliance. It was the Congress, in my opinion, was suffocating in this alliance, and I'm very brutally honest about it. I mean, all ministers of the Congress have to go to Ajit Pawar to get their files signed. So to me personally, I don't understand why that should happen, but that's the way the alliance was. So I do concede to the point that Varun has said that there perhaps may have been some amount of suffocation even in the Shiv Sena ranks of going up to Mr. Pawar and having signed, to have the files passed or etc. The second part that is very important is that I think in this entire game, the NCP won't lose much. if what Varun says holds true, the Shiv Sena will gain. The BJP is obviously gaining. The biggest loser, I think, in my opinion, is the Congress. And therefore, I repeat what I keep saying on your show. The Congress must consider positive politics and must look at coming to power rather than trying to keep the BJP out of power. It did made that mistake in Karnataka. You saw what Deve Gowda and his son did. They even in the Rajya Sabha they ditched after Deve Gowda ji was sent last time to the Rajya Sabha by the Congress. So the Congress should stop making this mistake. That is as so far as the Congress is concerned. Having said that, looking at what's happening right now, I still, it's very difficult for me to comprehend that 40 odd MLAs, or actually 33, 34 odd MLAs, can just go out of the state and the chief minister does not come to know, IB does not report, state police does not report. Having said that, the police in Maharashtra is more loyal to NCP and BJP than it is to Congress and Shiv Sena, and everybody knows that. Congress is absolutely, I mean, it's not loyal to at all. So, I mean, if that has happened, I think Mr. Thackeray should relook at his intelligence and how he's gathering it. But some of these MLAs were taken away forcefully. They are coming back forcefully. So there is more than meets the eye. And I think the coming days will reveal a lot more.
So what do you mean more than meets the eye? Are you suggesting that Sharad Pawar had a secret hand in what's happened? You're not coming out and spelling it out directly, but that's what I'm picking up from you.
Not Mr. Pawar, but not Mr. Pawar per se. But, in 2008, again, Varun will remember this, there was something called the Pune pattern, which was started by Ajit Pawar. Now, the Pune pattern was the BJP, Shiv Sena and the NCP came together only to keep the Congress out of power in the Pune Municipal Corporation, which is a very important municipal corporation because it's a gateway to Western Maharashtra. So after Mumbai, it's the second richest municipal corporation. You know, Maharashtra is a rich state. So at that time, Kalmadi had sway, and to keep Kalmadi and Congress out, they did the Pune pattern there. So what I'm trying to say is that in Maharashtra, politics is not always linear or binary as is in other parts of the country. Maharashtra politics is very, very complex, and beyond political divisions, there exist very close friendships, and those friendships sometimes take precedence. I think what the Congress should be very worried about, because I'm a very strong sympathizer of the Congress, is two things. The Congress was born in my state of Maharashtra. It's almost becoming redundant except for the Vidarbha area. Western Maharashtra, Ajit Pawar is the boss, and I don't think that's good for the Congress. Second thing, the Congress could not elect its speaker when Nana Patoli resigned. Now, again, I don't know if Varun knows this. Sangram Thopte, we were trying to make him the speaker. Everything was done. It was decided, and suddenly they said, no, Sangram Thopte cannot become. They don't have them. I mean, there was COVID, etc. Congress didn't have speaker. So you please imagine the most important role during this time in the House will be the speaker, and that's with the NCP. So sometimes I just wonder that how that these alliances should be thought about in a longer term and should be in a more positive alliance to come to power rather than keeping the BJP out of power. That's what I personally feel.
Okay, I just want Varun's quick response and then I'm going to open it up for the rest of the panel on Sharad Pawar's role. Tehseen ne ishare mein bola ki nahi, not Pawar, but maybe somebody in his party, obviously reference to Ajit Pawar. Ajit Pawar has in the past, and I think we have that image somewhere, even sort of led or misled the BJP into believing that he was going to form government with them. And they even went and met the governor. And then that turned out to be a kind of Trojan horse, as it were, Varun. What do you have to say about Sharad Pawar's role or absence of his role in this whole sort of debacle for the Shiv Sena?
Once again, I would like to reiterate that most journalists, overestimate Sharad Pawar. And again, I'm saying we overestimate Sharad Pawar over here in Maharashtra too. I think, and I'm dead sure about this, that he was caught unaware about this entire mess of Shiv Sena, and that is what has rattled him up, and hence he wants Uddhav to continue.
Just hold your mic, Varun, when you make that point. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying Sharad Pawar is rattled because he was unaware about the entire scenario that happened behind his back. His ministry, NCP has the Ministry of Home, Police, and almost all the MLAs left. What a big shame for NCP over here that the police is busy in holding a program in next 2 or 3 days in Mumbai, and they couldn't identify the MLAs leaving the state and going out from the ruling alliance ministers. So I'm just saying Pawar was caught unaware, overestimated, and not only that, it is not just overestimation. Today, right now, he wants to latch on to power only and only because NCP is the biggest gainer in the MVA alliance.
Okay, I have to go to Arati. Tehseen, one sentence, please. One sentence. Tehseen.
Varun, NCP is the biggest. Yeah, I agree with Varun. NCP is the biggest gainer. And the police escort actually took these bus of MLAs out till the Gujarat border. So are you telling me? And look, this has happened in the past. So I agree with what Varun is saying. Mr. Pawar perhaps may not have known. That's what I've indicated. Or Supriya may not have known. But the Prime Minister was in Pune a few days ago, and we know who received him. I'm just saying there's a lot that's happening in Maharashtra, and there's a lot that's churning in Maharashtra, and not everything is as linear. That's all I want to keep it at.
Well, wheels within wheels, Arti. Till 24 hours ago, it looked like Devendra Fadnavis was going to be chief minister with Eknath Shinde as his deputy. Mr. Shinde continues to very much visually assert himself, releasing pictures in Guwahati, him addressing now 38 MLAs of the Sena and, of course, other independents. Now, in another counter move on this chessboard of politics, Uddhav is offering to walk out of this coalition and asking the MLAs to return. Varun believes that could lead to a rapprochement. Where does that leave the NCP and the Congress? And do you agree with the conspiracy theory that Sharad Pawar has either lost his touch or has looked the other way while all of this happened?
Maybe we do tend to overestimate Sharad Pawar, but Barkha, he is one of the most shrewd and I would say devious politicians we have in India today. And I don't believe. I know he's aging. I know he's not well, but I don't believe that things happen in Maharashtra without his knowledge. I really do feel that he knew what was happening. I don't know whether he encouraged it or whether he just decided to turn a blind eye to it. But as Tehseen points out, a police escort, accompanied this busload of MLAs when they left for Surat. And you're trying to tell me that the NCP did not know, that Jerath Patil did not know, that Jerath Patil did not tell Ajit Pawar, that Ajit Pawar did not communicate it to Sharad Pawar. Even last 3 years ago, when that whole game was played by Ajit Pawar, when he crossed over and there was that midnight swearing in, and then the Fadnavis was sworn in and Ajit was sworn in as his deputy. Everybody said, oh, Pawar didn't know that, Ajit Pawar had taken his uncle for a ride. I don't believe that for a minute. I am absolutely positive that Sharad Pawar had a hand in it and he knew what was going on. So, I would still say that I think that we should keep a very close watch on Pawar. Varun is obviously much more connected and much more clued into what's happening, and congratulations to him for his wonderful scoop. I think that there's a lot happening behind the scenes that many of us are not really aware of. And, I remember, Narasimha Rao used to say, he never trusted Sharad Pawar. And he used to say that Sharad Pawar will do exactly the opposite of what he says he's going to do. So yeah. I think we need to keep a close eye on what's happening. And I think we need to keep a close watch on, the BJP has adopted a hands-off attitude, but so has Sharad Pawar. If you notice, he said, he's kind of washed his hands off it. He said, this is an internal problem of the Shiv Sena.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
He did have that, sort of perfunctory meeting with Uddhav where he said, you should make Eknath Shinde the chief minister and all that. But the fact is that, Pawar is not actively trying to do anything, just like the BJP is not actively trying to do anything.
Well, the BJP's leaders in Assam have in fact gone and met these MLAs, but as Varun calls it, logistical support is a very interesting way to describe it. I want to bring in Sundar Balakrishnan and Rahul Verma. Rahul, can I ask you to just move forward a little bit so we can see you better? And Sundar Balakrishnan, this return to Hindutva, that is something I think you tweeted about today. How do you see this going forward? If the Shiv Sena and the BJP are to reunite, let's say, back to being sort of political bedfellows, the trust deficit, the attempts by Uddhav Thackeray and his son to recast themselves and their image, can that trust deficit be bridged? How do you see this?
See, Elder Barkha, this Hindutva, after 2019, these MLAs did not realize that they are compromised on the Hindutva. Now they have realized that there is a Hindutva issue that is there. According to me, this issue that is now going on the one side, I think this is all stage managed and could be possibly this is the way which is taken out by Uddhav himself, according to me. Okay, that is what I think so. Because the way the statement that was made by Sanjay Raut today, I think this was well planned. That is one aspect of the whole thing. But I don't think Hindutva is the only plank on which Eknath Shinde has gone back. And if you think that Eknath Shinde is going to come back and take the CM post, or he will say that let Uddhav be the CM, I don't think Uddhav will take up the CM post because he has already committed himself to the MEA. What he will do the most is if Eknath Shinde comes back, he will pull out of the MBA, and that also I think it is very remote according to me. I beg to disagree with Varun in this case because Eknath Shinde, even if he comes back here, I don't think he will make the first move because if he has to make the first move, what is important is he has to go to the governor, and that too based on the invitation given by the governor. Governor has to call first Uddhav and ask him about his status of his MLAs. And at that point of time, Uddhav either he will say that my MLAs are there, they will come back, and that time what governor will say is he will call Eknath Shinde also possibly through BJP because the governor can do anything. Governor,
So
we have
you
seen in
still
the past.
believe, Sundar, you still believe that this will be a Fadnavis-led new government? That's I'm hearing you think that.
No. I'm saying that immediately they will not form government with BJP. They will allow the things to settle down, and probably what I feel is they will bring the president's rule and they will go in for an election. And
Yeah.
at that point of time, Shiv Sena will join hands with BJP again, and they will be friends
Yeah,
later on.
and of course, we need to ask the panel what sort of relationship that might look like. But Rahul, the larger political messaging, the coalition in Maharashtra was offered as an example of how post ideology our politics had become. The Shiv Sena recasting itself very different from the Bala Saheb legacy, today trying to return to that. The Congress in alliance with the Shiv Sena, but talking about secularism elsewhere in other states, a kind of counterintuitive alliance. And Sharad Pawar, whose politics are always so opaque that nobody can really access what he's thinking. The big national political message, one more state, of course, that potentially returns to the BJP, and if it doesn't, certainly moves away from the non-BJP. Rahul.
Okay, so couple of points. First, I think we give too much of importance to politicians as if everything is planned and coordinated. And see, politicians at the end of the day are human beings like us. They are also driven by similar emotions, similar infallibility. So yes, there are things that can go out of hand, out of sight. What I agree with RTG that it's very much possible that there are always, when top players are involved, there are a lot of things going behind the scene, and no one can be privy to what is going on. But yes, we certainly overestimate certain politicians like Sharad Pawar, and the reason is very, very simple. He may be shrewd. Shrewdness is not a measure of power or leverage. Power comes from leverage. So Sharad Pawar was much more powerful or had leverage in 1990s when he could have actually become the president of Indian National Congress, or was a prime minister hopeful. Now, 30 years later, he's not even commanding a whole state of Maharashtra. So he has declined in stature. He may be shrewd, but his control has certainly not just on his party, but also on the state politics has gone down. Now, alliances are always are formed because of it's not basically two parties which have ideological coherence. You have seen parties like, say,
Sure.
JDU and BJP in Bihar, have run successful governments, or in other places as well. So it's not that two parties need to have similar alliances, similar ideological line to be in alliance and run a stable government. The challenge in Maharashtra was because all three parties had equal number of seats. So there was no big player to anchor the coalition. That's the first time. So there was a problem which was from the very beginning, and this problem became very evident. And people like Varun, who must have been following this very closely, after the Rajya Sabha election, it became evident that there are problems. And once the MLC election happened, cards were open. I think it was for anyone who was just watching the Maharashtra
I mean, it was such
politics.
evident cross-voting. The BJP got about 133 seats with a strength of 106. It's amazing to me that everybody was so shocked, Rahul, the next day when we saw this meltdown, because it was obvious on the floor of the House. Rahul, complete your point, and then I want to go back to Tehseen and Varun. Go ahead, Rahul.
Yeah, so I think now, see, there are multiple things why politicians walk out of a party. They will always basically espouse that we are moving away from the ideological line, or there is no discipline or accessibility to the top leadership. So when Eknath Shinde is walking out of the Shiv Sena alliance, I don't think this is a ploy which has been moved by Uddhav Thackeray. You are not going to humiliate yourself in public, where you are also losing the control of the party, and then think this is a ploy which is being played by you. I think Eknath Shinde may be ideological, but there are also personal ambitions involved. He has been in politics since 80s on the side of Balakrishnan.
And I think you make a great point, because there's resentment not just of Ajit Pawar, but within the Sena there is resentment of Sanjay Raut. So there are all kinds of interpersonal things here
Not just
at
Sanjay
play.
Raut, but because the line of succession in Sena has been laid after Uddhav Thackeray, it would be Aditya Thackeray, right? So now people like Aditya, people like Singh, they think that there is a ceiling which we have it, and so they have to play their cards.
Okay, here's my question to you, Tehseen, and then I'll come to Varun. You said in an oblique sort of way that you didn't trust how this had come to be. Everybody on this panel seems to believe this was well organized. This didn't just happen, it was organized. Nobody is saying who organized it. Nobody is coming out and saying, this is the person, this is the party, or these are the two people, these are the two parties who organized it. So let me ask you, Tehseen, who do you think organized it? Who sabotaged? Was it Shinde on his own? Was it Shinde plus Fadnavis? Was it Shinde plus Fadnavis plus Pawar? What are you actually saying here?
Without doubt, Fadnavis and BJP. Without doubt. Look, what you are not analyzing, none of y'all have analyzed, is the Rajya Sabha elections and the MLC elections. The MLC elections were a disaster. It had to take, and Shiv Sena could only elect their second candidate because Aditya Thackeray had to personally, physically get the MLAs with him. Congress, on the other hand, the second candidate defeated the first candidate. That's fine. There were Congress candidates. The Congress also cross-voted. So look, at Fadnavis was at the back of this, the BJP. These private planes, these resorts in Gujarat, these resorts in Guwahati, that cannot happen by Mr. Shinde by himself. That's not possible. So the BJP is obviously behind it. Yes, the BJP is not coming in the front. Therefore, they're not even coming on TV channels right now, they're spokespersons. Because the BJP does not want to, if things don't fall out, don't want to fall on their flat the second time, on their face the second time again. So they are doing it behind the back, but it was done. And the MLA and the Rajya Sabha elections.
And what is your comment on the role of the NCP?
Well, the NCP got its Rajya Sabha candidate elected as well as its MLC candidate elected. Not just that, they got extra votes. See, this analysis should have happened. This trigger should have gone off the day the second BJP Shiv Sena candidate lost in the Rajya Sabha election. Your trigger should have gone off at that day. You knew BVA is not voting for you, Thakur's party. You knew SP is not voting for you. You knew that MIM will play sport because they will put it out that they are coming and voting for that poet that Congress gave the ticket to, asked him to contest. So they knew that this is going to happen. At that time, Shiv Sena should have figured it out. I cannot believe they did not realize it.
But in one sentence, what is NCP's role in it according to you?
How else in MLC, where everyone lost votes, the NCP gained the same numbers, right? But NCP is gaining 3 votes, Congress is losing, and Shiv Sena is losing. But the same NCP is gaining.
I mean, it's fascinating if you're not the MLA who's losing and you're just the observer. Varun, you
That's
can.
why I'll always go Lok Sabha. That's why I'll always go Lok Sabha. Never
Okay.
Rajya Sabha. I'm Lok Sabha material.
Okay. There's Tehseen making a pitch for his party or the party he's supposed to listen. Varun, the more serious point is this. Sundar Balakrishnan has a completely different perspective from you. He believes that Uddhav will resign but not necessarily walk out of the coalition right now. Why are you so convinced that he will dump this coalition, and how will he explain it? What is the reason he's going to give suddenly? Will he say that my party wanted it, so I did it? How is he going to make the case if you believe he's going to dump the coalition? Varun.
Okay. Does he still need a reason to give to anyone why he wants to dump MVA? It's clear, crystal clear, that he would come out saying, I need to save the party of my father, the legacy of my father. I want to save the Shiv Sena, that is the party that for which I am living, I survived, I have whatever sacrifices I had to make, I made only because Shiv Sena survives, and that is the only thing why he will come out. And again, the way the Shiv Sena MLAs are going, dumping Uddhav Thackeray over here and going to Guwahati is a clear indication that it is managed by Shiv Sena. And as I again repeat, BJP is only providing logistics right now, and they will wait and watch what is going to happen in the few
So
days,
if
and
you
only
were
then.
if you were a betting man, Varun, what's going to happen next?
I said, even 2 days ago, I said the BJP is not in a hurry to form government. They will stay back. The Uddhav Thackeray government will go. Uddhav Thackeray won't remain CM. It may happen today, tomorrow, or a week or before the presidential election.
All right, let's bring in Sundar Balakrishnan. Mr. Balakrishnan, even if the BJP and the Shiv Sena are to come together when the next election happens, let's say, do you believe that there is an essential rupture? Because I think Rahul was making the point that politics is also about interpersonal relationships. It's also about being able to get along, being able to trust. Do you think that this rapprochement is possible? And do you think that Thackeray's will regain control of their party after such a public humiliation of their authority?
See, I think even if in the future, which for sure I'm sure that Shiv Sena will go with BJP. Shiv Sena either way, even if they don't go, or even after they go, they are not going to get number of seats which will be much lesser than what they have as of today. Okay, so they have lost the confidence. Public has lost the confidence in Shiv Sena. Now, take for instance now, as Varun said, Uddhav will resign, okay, and BJP will wait and watch. Now, BJP will certainly go to the governor with the letter of Eknath Shinde. They will certainly go, okay. But what the reason that Uddhav is going to give is not going to be acceptable to the general people, general public. It will not be even acceptable to the normal Shiv Sainik. Until yesterday, you have been saying that you are with MBA, and he only vacated the Varsha bungalow. He did not resign. All of a sudden, this resignation he is going to give, saying that he wants to walk out of MBA. My point is, he will resign. He will not say that he wants to come out of MBA. That is what is the reasoning that that saves him from giving any reasoning for why he is going to quit from MBA. He will just say, "I'm resigning." That's it. And later on, what is going to happen is all dependent upon, because all this is stage managed through Eknath Shinde and through BJP. Now, here, how quickly Uddhav Thackeray is going to take up the position, but Uddhav Thackeray taking up the position as a CM chair with the BJP, I think it is going to be an ego issue in front of the people, because what reason can he give, saying that
I think that's a very important point. I think that's a very important point, and I want to bring Arati in on this. The diminishing of Uddhav Thackeray, that is an inescapable dimension of whatever happens next, Arati.
Absolutely. And I think he's trying to regain some kind of stature by saying that he does not want the CM's post. He doesn't, he didn't ever crave for power. He's like his father. I'm moving out of Varsha. I'm going back to Matushri. I think these are all attempts to regain, some kind of stature as, somebody who is above this sort of, greed for, position and power, the kind of normal greed that politics, brings to people.
And
So
those
I
are the
don't see
images
Uddhav
of
Thackeray.
his.
Actually, I don't know what's going to happen in
I just
Maharashtra.
I, I just want to say those are the suitcases being taken out from the official chief minister's residence, which we saw. But go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't see Uddhav Thackeray becoming chief minister of whatever kind of formation may come in place, if at all a formation comes in place. But I don't see Eknath Shinde either becoming chief minister, because I think Eknath Shinde, I mean, let's face it, the Shiv Sena is identified with the Thackeray's. Eknath Shinde cannot, sort of create a Shiv Sena and lead it. So it'll be somebody that Uddhav Thackeray chooses if there is going to be a government, maybe some other Sainik. But Barkha, there is also an important marker here which we need to look at, and that is the approaching Bombay Municipal Corporation elections. How important the Bombay Municipal Corporation is for the Shiv Sena, and I mean, I don't think they would like to do. I mean, I think they must be thinking very hard, about how they can retain their control of the BMC, and whether they should actually go back to the BJP and fight an alliance with them, or whether they should stay with the MBA and or just go it alone. I mean, I think this would be a very much an important part of the internal calculation of the Shiv Sena when they decide their next move.
That's interesting. Tehseen, you wanted to come in? Tehseen?
RTG one thing. I just want to tell RTG one thing, that the BMC elections, no matter what happens, whatever plays out here, Shiv Sena and BJP will not fight it together. Shiv Sena will fight it on its own, as will BJP, because the dynamics locally are different. But there's one other aspect that I want to add out here. You see, Eknath Shinde ji, I understand, is from Thane, but most of the MLAs who have gone with him are basically from North Maharashtra. The Mumbai MLAs are still stuck with the Thackeray's. So far as the BMC elections is concerned, it's still a little while away, the delimitation, etc. It still seems that the Shiv Sena will have a very good fight on it. And even if whatever happens, they will not fight the BMC elections together. That they cannot do, because that will mean the end of the astitwa of Shiv Sena in that sense. So that even the Shiv Sena will not want to fight it, nor will the BJP. That will be a different dynamic altogether. Let's not get that issue here.
Okay, Varun, close this. Sorry, Mr. Balakrishnan. Yeah.
Yeah, see, as I've been telling in the other channels also, what Tehseen said is, all these MLAs are basically from North Maharashtra and Marathwada region. Okay, and if you know correctly, if you study this correctly, there is a BJP top leader who hails from Maharashtra and who has helped Eknath Shinde to gather all these people from there. Okay, there's one point which you should note. Now, today and yesterday, few people from Mumbai have also gone there. According to me, I think this is the tactics being used by the Uddhav Thackeray. My second opinion, second version of the thing. Okay, they are actually a sort of a mole from Uddhav Thackeray's gang, who have gone there to break the team. That is what is my take on the people who have gone from Mumbai today, like Sarvankar and all those people who have gone there today. I think what will happen is, by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, what is going to happen is, these 2-3 MLAs who have gone from Mumbai, they will certainly convince a lot of MLAs there, and you will see for sure a lot of MLAs will come back, and Eknath Shinde will fall flat on his face. This is the another version which I can give it to you.
That's really interesting. That Eknath Shinde in the end will not be the winner. Varun, last word to you.
I don't see anyone coming back. I just see that the plan is successful. Whatever Uddhav wanted is happening. MVA is collapsing. I see Uddhav resigning, and I see these MLAs coming back and going back in Sena. That is what I can say for right now. Whatever my sources are saying. I'm a journalist. These are not my opinions. These are my sources. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. As they say, politics in India beats any crime thriller, drama thriller on any OTT platform. It changes by the minute. And who's the master puppeteer? That remains the open question. Tehseen, Arati, Sundar, Varun, and Rahul, thank you so much. And we'll have all of you back again very soon for the next edition of there should be an Indian political league for this IPL match that is unfolding in Maharashtra. Thank you very much. Take care.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.